Many have said that they have seen him in whatever form or fashion.
Well, so then he does have form.
I guess he has form and no form. He's got all form and no form. He's got whatever form he wants.
Well, yeah, but what does the Catholic Church say?
Not too sure about that.
Well, come on, you belong to the church.
They would say that he has form. I think the church would.
I'm sorry?
Christ. That's the
Christ-
form he took.
Christ is the only. Why do humans have form?
That's a good question. Why do humans have form?
And why does Christ have form?
Yes. Why not formless? Right.
That's the breath of God who breathed his breath into our.
Well, they say into the dust. He breathed into the dust.
And the dust takes form or what?
I don't know.
From dust they come, and from dust they will
We have
return.
Adam and Eve in a garden. But biggest question is why?
Well, don't they say that man is made in God's image and likeness?
That's correct.
Is that
So
Catholic
then,
or Protestant?
That's right, Rupa Manjari Prabhu Dasi.
Got
Did I get that right?
yes.
All right.
So so Rupa Manjari makes a very good point. If man is made in the image of God, then God must have form.
Okay. Deductive reasoning makes sense from a material standpoint.
Now, if man is made in the image of God, why couldn't Adam and Eve see God, or did they?
A good question.
They ended up hiding from God when they ate the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil.
Which in Sanskrit, how do you say the evil spirit? It starts with an M, I think.
I'm sorry?
Maya.
How do you,
Maya.
Maya? Okay, Maya.
Maya means illusion. Maya literally means that which is not.
Where does Maya come from?
Maya is a expansion of Shiva, is the girlfriend of Shiva or wife.
Shiva is the wife of whom?
No, Shiva's the male.
Shiva's the male. Sorry.
Shiva is
Still learning.
Is an expansion of Vishnu.
Okay.
So there's Krishna, Balaram, Vishnu, Shiva, and then Shiva's consort is called Maya.
Okay.
Maya means illusion.
It's a female entity.
Haven't you
Yes.
noticed?
Yeah.
Okay. Copy that.
Maya in Krishna consciousness is the equivalent of Satan in Christianity.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Well, in a sense, because she is a temptress.
And she's part of each and every one of us.
Yeah, but the thing is that with Satan, you can say things like, "Get thee behind me, Satan." Whereas with Maya, we're living in the midst of Maya's kingdom as though it were the kingdom of God.
Mm.
So if Maya's equal to Satan, then we're living in Satan's world, not God's world. And even religious people are accepting Satan's world as a higher reality than the kingdom of God, because this world we can touch in the kingdom of God may or may not exist, according to even the deepest believers.
Mm. So I'd like to change the topic now. I'd like to talk about Narayan and Rupa Manjari Prabhu's experience at the ISKCON Berkeley Ratha Yatra that was held last Sunday. So Narayan Prabhu,
How about Rupa Manjari first?
ladies first.
Well, it was a beautiful festival with nice chanting and delicious prasadam. And there was a very wide variety of devotees there. Some who were offering obeisances to Narayan and others who were yelling at him. So it was very nice.
So I think you guys met the whole Sacramento crowd,
Yes, that was wonderful. We liked the Sacramento crowd. They were very sober, intelligent, clear-minded, and earnest and honest by nature.
Jai.
That they've been taken to the cleaners is not their fault.
Right. That prasadam setup, the Folsom devotees with Aja Prabhu, I introduced you guys to. He was the man in charge for that. So he's been doing that for several years now. He's leading a congregation in Folsom. So his team, of the Sacramento team, they teamed up together to make the pizza and the food and stuff. So
It was the guy that was making the pizza.
no, not him. The other guy who was he's kind of short, and I introduced you to his name was Aja Prabhu, Aja Das.
Oh,
So
And he made all the prasadam.
no, he was taking charge of the whole festival, meaning that he was
Oh.
coordinating and managing and everything. He does it. They've been doing it for years. So he's the
That's
leader.
Great.
Yeah, he's the leader for this Folsom
Mahaprabhu,
congregation.
you would have been blown away by that festival.
Yeah, Mahaprabhu, maybe you can make your trip here for the 15th. You can stay at my place, enough room for everyone.
If I have the opportunity, I'll be there.
Yeah. You'll have fun. You'll get to meet all
14th, August 14th.
Oh, it's August 14th. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got to check it out. I'll check my calendar.
Yes.
I'm going to
Well-
continue driving.
Yeah, yes, go ahead. So that was the festival. And what were some of the things you noticed when talking to the devotees, Narayan Prabhu, when talking with them and interacting with them? Something that
Compared to Los Angeles, there was so much bliss, ecstasy, mutual acceptance. I mean, I was astonished when it started out at the Berkeley Temple. It was like everyone was looking at each other transcendently. I mean, everybody was seeing each other very, very fantastically well. No frowns, everybody was in ecstasy. I couldn't even believe it, because in Los Angeles, it's never like that.
huh.
People are just busy doing their role, and they don't really know or care about anybody else, really, unless they're supposed to be doing something, So I was deeply impressed by the quality of the devotees. I think that goes to Jagannath Das as his Jagannath Das or Sankirtan Das? Jagannath.
Jagannath Swami Prabhu, the temple president of
Jagannath
ISKCON.
Swami. Jagannath Swami.
Yes.
Yeah. He has determinedly created an atmosphere in which Prabhupada's mood prevails.
Jai.
So I was very impressed. And I think that once they begin to understand that their bliss will not diminish if they see that the guru concept is unnecessary,
Yeah.
that they will feel freedom to act and to move, and their guru can be their godbrother.
Yeah, that's the thing, because they give this artificial position to the so-called what word we came up with?
Initiators?
Initiators, yes. The initiators, they fumble amongst themselves because they cannot free think. You know what I'm saying? They cannot. Everything needs to be checked with them. So,
So the good part of that is that you have a sense of a central person that, at least in theory, knows more than you do and can coordinate. That could easily be back in the early days, there were a lot of people that did. I did, Jayananda did,
right.
Siddhartha did. I mean, all of it, Madhvisa did. All the people were there in the early days, 1968, 69, 70. They all pitched in, and they were, it was like everybody was, there were no gurus except Prabhupada. So everybody just did the best they could to do something that they felt would please Prabhupada.
Jai, yeah, there was no guru except Srila Prabhupada. The unnecessary gurus in ISKCON were not there at that time.
But there were leaders, and
yes,
if those leaders
were there,
went on to become gurus,
right?
And that's where it began to disintegrate, because they weren't. They were great leaders, but they were bad gurus. What can you say? All they could do is say, I'm a leader and you can't say no to me. Whereas before, I'm a leader and you're not supposed to say no to me. That's the only difference.
Yeah, and we explained the point of unnecessary gurus, how it's, in one way, it's holding these devotees back, of free thinking and enterprising, meaning.
Exactly.
And you kind of saw that with some interactions with the God brother and some of the unnecessary guru disciples, right? They were complaining.
Yeah. Well, they were fine, but then they went off into a partisan, what I would call a partisan angle, whereby, yes, everything's fine, everything's wonderful, transcendental, Hare Krishna, but my guru wants the money or this or that, I said, leave that out. Just eliminate that factor, and we have a blissful encounter.
Yes. So that is one of the problems here, the unnecessary gurus. Oh, we have Amir Ghosh Prabhu online, finally, after a long time.
Who?
Amir Ghosh.
Ah, Jai.
Haribol.
His volume is off.
You gotta, Amir Ghosh, your microphone, something is wrong with the microphone. We cannot hear you, Prabhu. We can't hear you, Amir Ghosh. We cannot hear you, Amir Ghosh ji. Anyways, let's continue.
Mohit is here.
Yeah, Mohit Prabhu is also hearing.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Bol. Hare Bol.
Jai Mohit
Mohit.
Prabhu.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Makhyuman Prabhu. Hare Bol.
Mohit
Jai.
Prabhu ki jai.
Hare no, Prabhu. After so many days I'm here. Prabhu, what are we discussing these days? Hare Krishna.
Yes?
Ramachandra Prabhu,
Yes.
anything specific we are discussing?
Oh, we were talking about Narayan Prabhu and Rupa Manjari Prabhu. They visited Berkeley ISKCON Ratha Yatra. They came down last Sunday.
We were the extremely happy, pampered guests of Ramachandra Prabhu. He went to every effort to make us feel comfortable, welcome, and we didn't have to sleep out on the ground on the rocks. We slept in beds in his house. It was so nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was a very nice.
He didn't put you. He didn't put you in the barn.
Well, sooner or later we'll have a barn. So We're working on the barn project. People majority Prabhu is
So in the old days, it called it barn raising. You got all the materials and laid them out, and then all the neighbors got together. The women all cooked fantastic food with corn and pies and whatnot, and cakes, and the men were out putting the barn together.
so.
The way they could do a barn, it was called a barn raising. They could raise a barn in a day.
So analytically looking at the whole situation in Sacramento, Narayan Prabhu,
Yes.
you heard and saw and interacted with all these devotees. What can they do to improve their, how can you say this, improve their Krishna consciousness? I mean, they're chanting Hare Krishna, they're eating prasadam, but that can only take them so far. You know what I'm...
Well, actually, the chanting Hare Krishna, taking prasadam is the Kanista Adhikari process. What they need to do is to understand that by coming into the temple once, they're already going to go back to Godhead. They're saved. They don't need a guru to save them. It's not like a church, where you go there and the priest will do the right sort of rites and then you will go to heaven. You're already going back to Godhead, but the question is when. But expanding your bhakti as understanding that we are complying with Radharani, or rather with Lord Chaitanya, who came here in the mood and the golden form of Radharani to create the Radharani golden age of Kali, that all that's wanted is so simple, just everybody chant. Everybody chanting and hearing is all we need to do. So all the politics and stuff like that, that happens inevitably in a Kanista Adhikari atmosphere, but that's not the determining factor. And it's not that the unnecessary initiating guru is going to save you from repeated birth and death. If you've heard the holy name, you're safe from birth and death. Can the Kanista guru, can the unnecessary initiating guru, can he save you so that you go back to Godhead in this lifetime? And that's the question. Well, let me ask the question. Do you think that the guru can bring you back to Godhead in this lifetime?
Srila Prabhupada certainly can, but not theirs.
Actually, Srila Prabhupada can't.
Well,
Or
he's
doesn't.
giving the message, and if you take the
Srila
message,
Prabhupada gave us the means.
yes,
That's
yes,
the distinction must be.
yes, you have to take.
Prabhupada is not our Jesus. He's not our
Right.
Savior. Prabhupada gave us the means by which we, by delivering others, will go back to Godhead very quickly.
Right.
But if we don't deliver others, then we'll go back to Godhead more slowly.
Yes.
If we're just trying to save ourselves, that's not what that's not the mood in Krishna Loka. In Krishna Loka, the mood is not saved you. Oh, I got here and I saved myself. What about you? Yeah, I saved myself. Well, now get out of my face. I don't want to see you anymore because I'm saved. You're not. I don't care if you're saved or not. That's not the mood in Krishna Loka. Unlimited bhakti is the mood. Unalloyed love of God. Unalloyed means it's like metal. Unalloyed gold means gold with no alloy in it or without no impurities. So unalloyed love of God means pure love of God. So pure love of God is being expressed, which is the natural tendency of the jiva anyhow. Then it doesn't matter if you're in Krishna Loka or on planet Earth, because your consciousness is filled with transcendental feeling, emotion, and compassion for others. And when we feel compassion, when we care. In other words, all we have to do to perfect our devotional service is not, we're already going back to Godhead. Why? We heard the holy name. Hare Krishna. Okay, you're going back to Godhead. Next, come on, who's next in line? That's already taken care of. The trick is letting go of our attachment to the false ego, which means me first. I want to go to Godhead, and I don't care if that SOB over there goes back to Godhead or not. In fact, knowing him, I wish he wouldn't, Don't want people like that in the kingdom of God. That's the way people think normally. So we have to give up that type of thinking and see spiritually. So if I'm a jiva and I see that you're a jiva, then there's no argument against you any more than I can argue against myself. So when people stop arguing against themselves, others, they stop arguing against themselves, and that gives them the fluidity, the open door to begin the rapid process of going back to Godhead, rather than the material body warmed over sense of going back to Godhead. Does it make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I mean, what can we say? Like, is there anyone here who does not consider that he's going to go back to Godhead because he's heard the holy name of Krishna once? If there is, let's have a conversation about it. Mohit, do you going back to Godhead? Prabhu?
Everyone's going back.
Huh?
Everyone who has heard from Srila Prabhupada, the transparent by medium of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Parampara, they're going back to Godhead.
More than transparent, because transparency means not transparent from us to Lord Chaitanya, but transparent from Lord Chaitanya to us. Prabhupada's chanting is not different than Lord Chaitanya's chanting. Same energy, same flavors, same moods that are there. In Lord Chaitanya Kirtan and Prabhupada Kirtan, same. So it's not that we're transparently looking through Prabhupada to see Krishna, it's that Prabhupada is looking at us coming from Lord Chaitanya, saying, I am the messenger. I am the messenger bringing you the holy name of Krishna. So if we hear from him, which we have, that's perfection. But we have to give up the greedy sense, and we have to give up that sense that if he's transparent medium and he's gone now, so I will become transparent medium, which means you have to come to me and you can't go back to Godhead unless I say so. No, that's not it. Us being transparent medium should mean, if you want to see a disciple of Prabhupada who is a transparent medium, he should be broadcasting the holy name in the mood of Srila Prabhupada. If somebody could broadcast the holy name in the mood of Srila Prabhupada, then we could say, well, maybe this is a person who is the acharya or the teacher by divine example up to Prabhupada. But they can't, and they don't. They're all functionaries.
What do you mean by that?
And they can't, because Prabhupada is an Uttama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikaris don't grow on trees.
Uttama Adhikaris don't grow on trees. That's a nice one.
Not that I've seen.
Unnecessary gurus grow on trees.
Oh yeah, they grow in bramble bushes, like poison ivy, poison oak, blackberry bushes. They could be like blackberry bushes. Prabhupada is giving freely. The blackberry bush does everything it can to keep you from gathering the fruit, because it has spines. So basically, the unnecessary guru's goal is not to save others, but to save themselves. That's what they think. But they're doing a very poor job of it, considering that the more unnecessary they are, the less they're saving themselves. And the only thing that could be said for them, like Jayapataka Swami, for instance, is that was 40,000 disciples. They're saving him. They're giving their lives, their Shakti, their karma, their births. They're giving their pious deeds to him to cannibalize, to stay alive after essentially coming to the point of death and having his disciples pray for his survival in this body, not survival as a soul, but survival in this body. So they gave up their lives, their body, their children's bodies, their children, their wives' bodies. They gave up everything within their reach that they have any slight control over, which is the karma of themselves and their family members, a man. The woman is the karma of the children to care for. And they do that. So Jayapataka's cannibalized his disciples to sit in a wheelchair with his face twisted into a pretzel.
Mhm.
We have this Bir Krishna Maharaj coming, so I suggested to their disciples, I'm like, why are you guys doing house programs? Why not have programs at the Hindu temples where everyone in the Unnecessary Guru Club, they already know what to do. Why don't you have programs at other places? But the Unnecessary Gurus, they only want to the Unnecessary Gurus and Unnecessary Disciples, they only arrange programs at homes. They don't go outside preaching or having Sankirtan, anything like that. It's only
They want to assure the householder whose home it is, they want to assure the householder that they will get special benediction of Krishna if they give a good chunk of money to the cause, mainly the guru.
Yeah, I was like, I could have arranged programs at different temples, but they're not so much interested in that. I spoke to the main disciple today. I'm like, why are you doing programs in apartments and homes? I said, why not do at big temples and do kirtans? But they were not so much interested.
Why not go to the streets and do big kirtan?
Yeah. So
even less money in the streets. Well, that's what we did in the early days. We went out and we had incense and we had Back to Godhead magazines and we sold the incense for whatever people would give and we sold the magazines for a quarter. And so that's how we made our money. But by each time we got a quarter, it wasn't just a big fat donation, it was a little donation, but the person who gave the quarter got a magazine, which at that time more or less reflected Krishna consciousness.
Right. Yeah, the mood has totally changed. I've seen some people were very enthusiastic some 4 or 5 years ago. Now these people look dead. Once they join the institution, they're just floating.
Yeah, well, I don't know. At Ratha Yatra, I didn't notice anyone being too unenthusiastic,
Yes. Rupa Manjari Prabhu, what else did you notice? What did you notice?
I noticed there was a lot of Hindus.
Hindus, yeah.
Which was nice. I mean, they're showing up for it,
Right.
Now, the thing is, the success of the festival was Jagannath Swami, I would say. If somebody else had run the festival, it would not have been so successful.
Yeah, Berkeley is a unique place where Jagannath Swami can manage. A lot of people came and went, but they were not able to manage the whole thing.
He can dodge and duck the unnecessary gurus phenomenon.
Yeah.
Getting everybody to join in without challenging their beliefs, but at the same time holding a higher taste.
Right. Yeah, you probably noticed there were no unnecessary gurus present there. While there's so many unnecessary gurus everywhere else, New York, Ratha Yatra, Los Angeles, but there, none were present.
Why do you think that is?
Because Jagannath Swami is a very good Like Narayana Prabhu says, he's able to dodge the unnecessary gurus.
So he's not friendly to them.
He's friendly to all, but at the same time, he doesn't want, these unnecessary gurus to make cults. So in this way, he's able to manage the whole thing. And this unnecessary gurus they know that Jagannath Swami is a good leader, so they don't mess with him. That's why you didn't see this Vaisheshika present there.
Uh-huh.
And no one else was present except us. Meaning that the big hitman of the GBC or the gurus.
Were there any GBCs there?
No, none.
Well, no wonder it was nice.
The one that was nice. Right.
Yeah, I didn't notice that, but you're right. There weren't any there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
All there were people that were chanting Hare Krishna. Now, all these people, say from Sacramento, that have gurus, why didn't they want their to come?
well, their gurus are Radhanath, Jay Pataka, Bir Krishna. Who else is there? Tamal
Bhakti
Krishna.
Charu. That
Bhakti
guy was
Charu.
Bhakti Charu.
Oh yeah, that guy, that fanatic guy was a Bhakti Charu Swami disciple. Yes. Yeah. That's
He was
basically-
really mad too.
He was really upset. Yeah.
Bhakti Charu. Yeah. If I told him that Bhakti Charu, when it says the poison's going down, it was Bhakti Charu who handed Prabhupada the cup of hot milk. And Prabhupada said, "This is too sweet." And it was too sweet to cover the taste of the arsenic.
Yeah, he would have probably just,
Yeah.
you were nice to him.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, you met your old god brother, Hari Basar, right? That was nice.
Yeah. But he's living in the past, and he's living in the past very nicely.
Yeah, everyone is basically living in the past, I've noticed.
Well, yeah, the people there was, "Oh, Prabhu, there you are." People once saw me, were so glad to see me. Basically, not because of who I am, what I represent, but just that I'm not dead yet.
Not dead yet. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And they felt good, these elderly devotees. That feels good. He's not dead either. Oh my God, we have another non-dead devotee.
Not dead. Yeah.
The non-dead devotee.
Not dead. Yeah, the Hindus are making the whole thing float in Berkeley and everywhere else. At least in California, they are. I'm sure in other states like Portland and Texas and stuff, is all the Hindus.
Pretty much everywhere.
Pretty much everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, because put it this way, if people are not going out on Sankirtan chanting and collecting in the old-fashioned way, they have to collect from congregational members. Now, congregational members, if they're living in the brahmachari ashram, don't have any money. So where are they going to get money to support the people in the brahmachari ashram, brahmachari ashram?
Right.
They have to have outside money. So, some devotees, householders, Great Ananda went to great extremes to prevent the householders from forming a householder, I forget what we called it, but we had meetings. And at those meetings, we had like 50, 60 householders there, not couples, mainly just the guys. There were so many ambitious people in New Dwarka at that time. And that our goal was to create an association, Vaishnava Business Association, I think we called it. And in that way, we would build businesses. And in India, you know, if you've ever noticed, the rickshaw says hypothecated to the Bank of Punjab. That means that it's a mortgage. The rickshaw is mortgaged to the Bank of Punjab. The guy takes out a loan and then he pays it back at interest. So we were thinking that we would like to do that for ISKCON, that we would then work in a partnership with ISKCON. ISKCON could provide some capital, but mainly we would raise money for ISKCON while building strong householder businesses for ourselves. And everybody was into it.
Yeah, but
But Hridayananda came through and destroyed it.
the unnecessary guru that destroyed the whole thing. Yes.
Yeah. And even though Hridayananda and I were always on good terms, at least he was on good terms, liked me, because he would always see me and say, "You're my Varna Pradaksha Guru," which was true. It was nice. But at the same time, he came in and butchered that whole householder thing. Then several years later, he was at a meeting, a Istagosthi sort of meeting, and he said, "The householders are so useless. Why don't they do anything with the temple?" And I said, "Maharaj," and this was in an open meeting, and everybody's nodding their head because Maharaj was saying it, right? And I said, "Maharaj, you destroyed that. We were doing it. You didn't want it. Now that it's not there, you say, why isn't it there?"
Rascal.
He got really upset because he was a guru and I was blasting him in public.
He killed that spirit during that time when you guys wanted to do something. So this is what they have done also. These
UBC, he stopped it.
yes, yeah.
What? Okay, now the question is why? They were afraid that the householders having money and being devotees, initiated devotees, the leaders were afraid that the householders having money and power would then get control of the temples, and the GBC would have to kiss their, whats.
Rear ends, right? Yeah.
But so they didn't want to share power. They didn't want to give a little bit of power away. They'd rather have complete power over 10 men than 10% power over 1,000 men.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they went for, and that's what they got, and that's what they still have.
Right. Today I attended a meeting with Achyutanandana and some devotees. They were talking about Krishna consciousness, and none of them have any clue about the direction of management. They're complaining about the GBC. They're like, what is the responsibility of the GBC, this and that. So I mentioned to them, look up the direction of management. And none of these devotees were, they knew anything about the direction of management. So that goes to show how much.
We should print out 500,000 copies of it and have it and just hand it out to whomever we meet.
Right.
With a cover letter explaining what it is.
Oh, that's a great idea. Direction.
Yeah.
And now with the case of this Lokanath Swami, he abused some girls, some 13-year-old, 9-year-old. Now they're really in trouble.
That was decades ago.
Yeah. Now that they're putting pressure on these people, but they don't know the solution has to be that temple presidents, they elect the GBC, and without that being implemented, the unelected GBC will always be in power unless people wake up.
Well, yeah, because what boiled down to is the GBC, when they were created, were fine with it until the book trust was formed with lifelong trustees.
Right.
And they said, well, what are we? Second class? We're running the whole movement. We have to be elected. And the book trust people are lifetime appointees. They should be working under us, and we should be lifetime appointees.
Ah.
They just couldn't stand the idea that Prabhupada wanted the GBC to be a flexible, growing thing, and the BBT trustees to have complete control of his book. Because their book selling was such big business, they didn't want a group called the BBT trustees. They want people like BBT trustees to control their access to books. That was the whole thing. The BBT would print the books, warehouse the books, and distribute the books to the temples, and the temples would pay for the books. And that was as far as it went. They had no control over the books. They could not print their own books. They could not warehouse their own books. It was all being done it would all be done by the BBT trustees. And they just felt it was just too much control to put in 5 or 10 people's hands, that much control over a huge movement. That just doesn't make sense to them. And you can sort of understand why they would think that. But at the same time, Prabhupada's goal was that his books not be changed. And the only way he could think of keeping from being changed is put people he trusted in charge of managing the books so they wouldn't be changed.
Yes, yes.
That was the BBT.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now I'm looking at it with hindsight. I'm being stuck here in Sacramento. I can see if I let these people control things, they'll screw things up. I mean,
And they have.
and they have, and somehow or other, we're keeping them at bay by, somehow or other talking about these things.
Well, there's KBI, Krishna Books International, which is publishing original books.
Yes, KBI, they're printing original books, but one thing is that Srila Prabhupada wanted the original books to be printed and half of the money going towards printing of books and half of towards temple buildings and facilities and things like that. I'm not sure how much of that is going on with Veda Guya Prabhu,
Mm-hmm.
That was right now, Narayan Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada's original idea for the BBT was...
KBI was created as the result of a lawsuit.
Yes.
A lawsuit which I was deeply involved with. And essentially, Hansaduda was the only BBT trustee still alive. Well, actually, maybe Bhagavan was still alive at that time, but he was still alive. He was a BBT trustee, had every authority to act as the BBT. But he didn't realize it, and his attorney didn't realize it, or didn't work in that direction. So it ended up that Hansaduda won the lawsuit. Then his attorney added a whole bunch of trustees. Those trustees voted out Hansaduda, sort of like what happened to you in Sacramento in reverse.
Yeah.
They voted out Hansaduda. Then Gupta and Vedaguya got rid of all the other trustees. So then they owned Krishna Books themselves, which was not supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's the same thing happened here in Sacramento. They plotted against me and then tried to usurp the Lakshmi and give it to,
Yeah, unfortunately, in this case, it worked.
Yeah, it didn't work, right? And
well, with Gupta and Vedaguya, it did work. They ended up with sole control of Prabhupada's books.
Yes.
And then Jita Radhi was printing books in China.
Yes, yes. Try.
Hansaduda had was capable of fantastic thinking sometimes. And he thought, well, it doesn't matter because with the original books, we'll distribute them all over the place. The change books will have no value because nobody will want them. But they didn't realize how much political power and effort was behind the change books, that they even, part of the deal was making Chayadvaita a lifetime BBT trustee. And I said, why on earth would you allow Jayad Vaida, of all people, to be a BBT trustee? He said, well, because it's all good. They're BBT. Now that we have BBTI with the original books, BBT will be gone pretty soon anyhow.
Wow.
That was his thinking.
Huh.
And then Gupta, his attorney, changed sides and began working for ISKCON instead of working for Hansaduta. So they made a quick compromise to close the case, where Hansaduta essentially got royally screwed because his lawyer royally screwed him. And that was it.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting how everything happened at your house, and you were guiding them. At the same time, he was not listening to you. Or
I was
not
trying to guide him, but Gupta and Hansaduta were working closely together, and Gupta, the last thing he wanted was for me to be deeply involved in the case because he knew I would see through the situation.
Just like you saw through the situation here.
Yeah. Well, apparently that's not that hard to do.
Okay, we got Priyanshi. Do you want to ask some questions? We're here with Narayan Prabhu, Rupa Manjari.
Who's here?
Priyanshi.
May I ask who this is?
This person has joined us before, so maybe you can introduce yourself so Narayan Prabhu and I can remember who you are.
Judging from the picture, Priyanshi might be Amaraji.
Might be, yes.
Very gorgeous picture.
Right. Who's that?
Hare Krishna, Priyanshi Prabhu. She's her microphone is off.
Yeah, she said Hare Krishna in the chat.
But she's not speaking, huh?
Yes, she's not speaking.
We'd like to hear. We'd love to have her speak.
Yes, so she can mute herself. Everyone has the option to unmute themselves. Try.
Good. And where is Priyanshi Prabhu from?
Where are you from, Priyanshi Prabhu?
Priyanshi Prabhu.
India. What part of India?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
John.
We can't hear her. Okay, there's some comments here in our Istagosthi page. It's saying, Rob B commented, the most important information is given in these talks. The whole world should be watching.
Nice.
Again, okay, the most important information is given in these talks. Who said that?
The whole world should be watching. He's our good friend and well-wisher. His name is...
Well, that's a very wonderful thing to say.
Yeah, he's been watching our conversations, and
Haribol.
I think he's from Germany. And he's a very talented devotee.
Haribol.
We have worked together for the past, I don't know, since 2009 or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So...
is he the gentleman we were talking about before?
Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful.
Rob, yes. So I've told him, because he's in Germany, his time zone is totally screwed. So he joins us.
What time is it right now in Germany?
Totally screwed.
Huh?
His time zone is totally screwed.
What time is it in Germany?
What time is it in? I'm looking it up right now.
Like 9 hours ahead or something?
6:30 a.m.
6:30. Yeah.
For devotees, 6:30 a.m. means that you've already said your Gayatri mantra.
Yes.
Krishna.
And you've already been to Mongol Arctic.
Jai.
Morning chants.
Morning chant, right.
Nice.
Well, we thank you.
Wie geht's? Wo bist du? Dankeschön.
What's going
Yeah, I
on?
can-
Mahaprabhu was speaking in some tongue.
I think it's going to run out of vocabulary pretty soon. Though, maybe.
Jai. Okay.
Is he still there? I lost his picture.
Mahaprabhu is still here, yes.
Oh, the German devotee wasn't there.
Oh, he's here. He's watching on our Zoom, on our YouTube. So that's why we broadcast on YouTube too, because we have about 30-something thousand subscribers. So a lot of people
That's great.
you can see here. 6 people are watching here. See here.
Welcome.
Jai. So anyone who's watching this on Facebook and YouTube, if you'd like to join, please check out the WhatsApp group called Istagosthi.
Prabhu has a question.
Okay, someone asked a question. Okay, let's read the question. Hare Krishna, I have a question. What to do when we commit Vaishnava aparad knowingly, unknowingly?
What is it? What if we do what?
Hare Krishna, I have a question. What to do when we commit Vaishnava aparad knowingly, unknowingly?
Well, the question is, Vaishnava aparad can be seen in different degrees, can't it?
Yes.
Vaishnava aparad to Prabhupada is quite an intense thing to do and very harmful to one's spiritual path. Vaishnava aparad to disciples of Prabhupada or the persons identifying as devotees is not this on the same level.
Yes.
But we should not commit offense to anyone, not even to an ant. So what do? We offer obeisances. That was Prabhupada's cure for everything. That you offer obeisances. You call someone Prabhu, means master. So if you commit an offense to someone, you say, Prabhu, please forgive me, Prabhu, meaning I am the servant, you are my master. As long as we understand that saying Prabhu means I am the Das or Dasi. I'm Das or Dasi myself. Therefore, when I say Prabhu, I say you are master. We say Prabhu even to the ant. So we look at ourselves as the servant of every single jiva. So Vaishnava aparad, it depends on what sort of Vaishnava aparad it would be. I mean, if you come at a great devotee and try to strangle them to death, it's different than just making some faux pas or blunder in language. I'm not sure the depth or the direction of the question, really.
Yeah, the question is there, knowingly, unknowingly. So that's the thing, Many things we do unknowingly, but we should know what we're doing. That's why Prabhupada and this Istagosthi form is there, so we can ask questions.
Yes, and it is to go see it, unless one is very deliberately offensive, it is not easy or even technically possible to commit an aparad against someone. Because in this Istagosthi, you're allowed to speak freely. And an ignorant man speaking freely to a knowledgeable man may commit all sorts of aparad without even intending to, just out of not knowing. So therefore, Istagosthi, you have a lot of freedom that you don't have in a temple classroom or in a other type of situation, because in the temple room you have to abide by all the rules. In Istagosthi, there are no rules. The only rule is self-expression of the jiva. So when the jiva self-expresses, you can be right or you can be wrong. You can say something that offends or not, but that's dealt with in the Istagosthi one-on-one practically in the group. There's no group etiquette really. So you can speak your mind. So if she wants to speak her mind, don't worry about offenses. If you think you're committing an offense, then say what you want to say. We'll discuss what you call an offense. That's the whole point of Istagosthi. Instead of saying, "Oh, you're bad," you said something bad to a good person, which is what an offense actually is. If you say that, then that's what Istagosthi is for. Nobody. I mean, suppose you're sitting in a Istagosthi with a sannyasi, and somebody who just walks in from the street, or maybe is a neophyte, says to the sannyasi, "I bet you think about girls a lot secretly, even if you're not supposed to." I mean, you can't say that to a sannyasi, but you can in Istagosthi. And quite frankly, if you do, it's good for the sannyasi, because that way he can clear away not only his own anarthas, but his pretense of purity, which he has to maintain, even something weird is going on in his brain. So the sannyasi, we honor the sannyasi, but at the same time, in Istagosthi, the sannyasi has to be honest as out of the mouth of babes, honesty. He has to be truthful and honest about himself. And that will save him. Because there were so many sannyasis that were doing the whole thing, going the whole ritual. I just knew them all over the place, you know. There was one in Saranagani. He was always bouncing around, and people used to save his earwax to worship it and stuff like that. And then he ran off with a woman. If he had gone to Istagosthi and been a little more honest and a little less showmanship and a little less trying to please the crowd or
Right.
please his disciples as though he were an entertainer, he would have been able to deal with the issues and maybe have gotten through the tendency to want to leave the movement and get married.
Yeah, it's there in scripture. It's said something like, if a sannyasi becomes married again, it's like one eating his own vomit or something like that. Very, very
Right.
intense. Very intense.
So Istagosthi is great for a sannyasi because it gives him a chance to be honest about where he's really at, rather than putting up a pretense of power, authority, and impurity, which he may not feel inside.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, Mahaprabhu, go ahead.
Istagosthi, Acharya, Sannyasi. I'm not quite sure what those mean.
Ramachandra, go for it.
Istagosthi is what we're
Excuse
having.
my.
Huh? Istagosthi is what
Go
we're
ahead.
having right now. We're having conversations, and more or less as equals here. You know, you share your realization, I share my realization, and we talk about that issue.
Istagosthi means like a forum.
But
Okay.
frank and open,
FOROUN.
no matter what status you have,
FORUM
it's amongst
forum.
equals.
Got it. Acharya.
Acharya means self-realized teacher.
Who is teaching by example?
Yes.
Sannyasi.
A sannyasi is
Sannyasi.
a sannyasi is a devotee in the renounced order of life. They've given up home, they've given up heart, they've given up family, they've given up job, they've given up everything. And
Got it.
they just travel and preach Krishna consciousness.
They haven't given up Krishna yet.
Yeah, everything but Krishna.
Yeah.
They give up Krishna.
Wow.
The Catholic Church, a lot of the celibate monks were the equivalent of a sannyasi,
Mhm.
assuming they were really.
Say it again.
A Catholic priest,
Thanks for clarifying.
a genuine Catholic priest is a sannyasi,
Okay.
not as
Like-
far down the evolutionary ladder, not as far up the evolutionary ladder as a Vedic sannyasi, but it's the same idea. He's given everything up to serve God.
Technically, there are a couple levels of sannyas. I think there's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Bahudak, they call it, Kutichak, Hamsa, and Paramahamsa.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that, Ramachandra. You just taught me something.
Yeah, that's why they say Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa. Now, Paramahamsa is the highest stage of sannyas.
Can you repeat those four again?
Yeah, it's Bahudak, Kutichak, Hamsa, and Paramahamsa.
I see.
Let me look up the references and what it means. Just give me a few minutes.
What was the one after Bahudak?
Bahudak, Kutichak, Hamsa, and Paramahamsa.
Yeah, let's know these distinctions.
Yes, let me look it up.
Kuti what?
Kutichak.
Bahudak, Kutichak.
Bahuda.
These are all Indian.
Okay, I got it. Here we go. Rupert, please read when I share the screen, please. Since you're the best reader here. Where should we start?
In the sannyas order also, there are 4 stages of upliftment toward perfection. These are called Kutichak, Bahudak, Parivrajacharya, and Paramahamsa. The Paramahamsa stage of life is the highest stage of perfection. This order of life is respected by all others. Maharaj Rishabh, the son of King Nabhi and Meru Devi, was an incarnation of the Lord, and he instructed his sons to follow the path of perfection by tapasya, which sanctifies one's existence and enables one to attain the stage of spiritual happiness, which is eternal and ever increasing. Every living being is searching after happiness, but no one knows where eternal and unlimited happiness is obtainable. So I think we got the point of that one.
Okay, let's
So
look
now,
at
what about the first 3?
Okay, let me look.
Are
let me
those
look.
described?
Okay, Rupa. This is one.
Ramachandra, these 4 are different from what you said. This is Parivrajacharya, not Hamsa.
Oh, okay, Paramahamsa. Okay, sorry. Yes. It's Hamsa, Parirajaka, Acharya, and Paramahamsa. Okay. Yeah. Thank
There
you.
are 4 stages of the renounced order of life: Kutichak, Bahudak, Parivrajacharya, and Paramahamsa. Herein,
Okay, what are
Srimad Bhagavatam considers. Yes, Narayan?
Well, we know that the Paramahansa is like Prabhupada, a descended being who's in transcendental perfection. But what are the other 3?
Let's right.
Or are they described?
Yeah, so let's look at this one, Bahudaka. Okay. So this is the Bhakti Vedanta database tool, which I use for searching words. Let's see, situation life, Kutichak, Bahodak. Okay. So are the gradual progressive stages in the renounced order of life. So I guess people go through this. Bahudak, Parirajaka, Acharya, and Paramahamsa.
It looks like Kutichak is
it goes here, there, and everywhere. They're wandering. The Paramahansa is like Prabhupada,
Yes.
Supreme Swan. But the other 2, what are they?
Let me look it up. What is the distinction between these? Okay. Okay, look that up. Okay, here we go. Rupa, your turn.
Okay. The Paramahansa stage is the topmost position in renounced life. In sannyas, the renounced order, there are 4 stages: Kutichak, Bahudak, Parivrajacharya, and Paramahamsa. According to the Vedic system, when one accepts the renounced order, he stays outside his village in a cottage, and his necessities, especially his food, are supplied from home. This is called the Kutichaka stage. When a sannyasi advances further, He no longer accepts anything from home. Instead, he collects his necessities, especially his food, from many places. This system is called madhukari, which literally means the profession of the bumblebees. As bumblebees collect honey from many flowers, a little from each, so a sannyasi should beg from door to door but not accept very much food from any particular house. He should collect a little bit from every house. This is called the bahudaka stage. When a sannyasi is still more experienced, he travels all over the world to preach the glories of Lord Vasudeva. He is then known as Parivrajacharya. The sannyasi reaches the Paramahansa stage when he finishes his preaching work and sits down in one place strictly for the sake of advancing in spiritual life. An actual Paramahansa is one who completely controls his senses and engages in the unalloyed service of the Lord. Therefore, all three of these sons of Priyavrata, namely Kavi, Mahavira, and Savana, were situated in the Paramahansa stage from the very beginning. Their senses could not disturb them, for their senses were completely engaged in serving the Lord. Therefore, the three brothers are described in this verse as Upashama Silaha. Upashama means completely subdued. Because they completely subdued their senses, they are understood to have been great saints, sages and saints.
Yeah, I think that's it, huh?
Oh,
Yeah.
So that answers that question of the three stages, huh? Pretty interesting.
yes.
Try.
I'd never even heard of that before.
Well, we've heard the words, but we've never seen what they were meant.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, the sannyas was broken down into 4 categories like that.
I never knew that.
Haribol.
So now.
So
See, it seems funny because some of the categories of the sannyasi also seem to be in the realm of the
Kanishta Adhikari?
vanaprastha.
Yes. Can there be something called a Kanishta Adhikari sannyasi? That's a good question, huh?
Yeah.
Kanishta Adhikari.
Well, if you can walk the walk and talk the talk, there's no objection, is there? That's
Right.
interesting that the sannyasi starts out living alone in a cottage, and people from the family bring him food.
Yes.
I never heard that one before. Then he goes from door to door taking little bits from people, which we did hear before, that he can stay as much as 3 days in a person's house at the most, which is enlightening for our householders because they get stuck in their animal propensities, right? Even if they're very great Vaishnava householders, just, eating, sleeping, mating, defending is going on. And therefore, when the sannyasi stays there, he uplifts them. And he's hopefully beyond the stage of being attracted downward by their activity. And then the Parvajacharya, that was what Narada Muni was, and they go here, there, and everywhere.
Try.
And then the Uttama Adhikari, like Prabhupada, he's the Paramahansa.
Try.
But ISKCON bypassed the first one at least. I mean, nobody's Karmi parents our family were bringing food to a member of the family who's sitting in a cottage, in a hut. But we all acted in the second stage when we were in India, because we would go from here and there to different wealthy people's homes, and we would all come in. We would all come in to the wealthy person's home and take the, and they considered it a blessing. They considered it that we had blessed their place because we were in the renounced order of life.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Okay, we have 10 more minutes to the meeting, FYI.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rupa.
What happened to Narayan Prabhu? He's back. He zoomed out, Narayan Prabhu.
Just a second, my phone cut out again. I'm going to have to reconnect it.
All right. So I'd like to read this quote. So we're in Istagosthi, so I'd like to read a Istagosthi answer by Srila Prabhupada. To answer your question, Istagosthi questions are as follows. Unless one is a resident of Krishna Loka, one cannot be a spiritual master. That is the first proposition. A layman cannot be a spiritual master, and if he becomes so, then he will simply create disturbance. This is pretty interesting, huh?
Great quote.
Unless one is a resident of Krishna Loka, one cannot be a spiritual master. That is the first proposition. A layman cannot be a spiritual master. And if he becomes so, then he will simply create disturbance.
Wow.
So, these things like the ISKCON Disciples course and the Guru course and GVC course, they don't talk about these things. These things can only be talked about in Istagosthi. And anyone who's watching this, they can participate in this Istagosthi by joining our WhatsApp group called Istagosthi. And then we'll post the links there, and you can participate and ask your questions to the devotees. Okay. Okay. Let's see, let me read some more things before we sign out.
How did you find that quote about the spiritual master being a resident of Krishna Loka?
Well, I usually send quotes to people and I have them on the phone, so I just kind of repost stuff over and over and over and over and again. So you probably have seen me doing that. Same medicine in different bottle kind of thing,
Right.
So Narayan Prabhu is back. Okay. Please unmute yourself, Narayan Prabhu. Okay. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Try. So we read that quote. Maybe you didn't hear, so let me read it again.
I didn't hear it.
Okay. And then after that, we can end if need be. Okay, here it is. To answer your question, to answer your Istagosthi questions are as follows. Unless one is a resident of Krishna Loka, one cannot be a spiritual master. That is the first proposition. A layman cannot be a spiritual master, and if he becomes so, then he will simply create disturbance.
We could say unnecessary disturbance.
Yes. Unnecessary disturbance, right? Yes. Unnecessary spiritual
Quackery.
quackery. Yeah. I mean, that's what I suffered from here.
Yes. Well, we're cutting out all the middlemen.
Yeah.
In another sense, shockingly, in a sense, we're cutting out Prabhupada as a separate personality. We see he is the Acharya, he is the messenger, he is the person who brought us Krishna consciousness. And that makes it clear to me now why Prabhupada said you should not have very many pictures of your guru, too many photos of your guru. We do, we're addicted. But totally addicted. But the thing is that why did he say that? You just have one picture, formal, sitting on the Vyasa-san, like just like the Guru succession, just very formal, and that's all. Why? Because otherwise you begin to see him as a celebrity. You begin to get charmed by his personality rather than his message. You get carried away with who he is and what he said, what he ate, what he did, and those are all wonderful things. And I could not, nor would I have been willing to part with a single one of them. But at the same time, we have to get to the point of being able to say, yes, but the Prabhupada that made the difference in our life was not the fact that he was from India. The part that made, although that clicked with our cliche of Indian guru, but it clicked. What he brought, his contribution, was the sound vibration of Lord Chaitanya entering into the mood of Radharani, of Lord Krishna entering. His contribution was bringing the sound vibration of Lord Krishna entering into the mood of Radharani in the form of Lord Chaitanya. And as Radharani Chaitanya, opening the door that everyone should chant just as they do in Krishna Loka. Just as they do in Krishna Loka. Because in Krishna Loka, Radharani, she doesn't go around telling people chant. They're chanting, and she gathers up their energy because they're all Uttamadhikaris, they're all pure devotees. And so many different categories there that we had kind of no comprehension of. She takes that bhakti that comes up and around and from the trees, the grass, the cowherd boys, the gopis, everyone comes to her through Lalita and Vishaka, and through them to Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya came to experience what that was like, to be Radharani. To be Radharani means to gather the devotion of every jiva. Well, they came here in planet Earth, in Bengal. Every jiva means every jiva on Earth. Does that make sense? Does that explain the golden age of Kali?
Yes.
What do you think, Ramachandra? Does that explain the golden age of Kali?
Yes. Yeah, that is a very good point, that the unnecessary gurus are cut out with this understanding. That, the Acharya is present.
They have made a simple, you could say, almost like they made an honest misunderstanding because they saw a guru sitting on a chair. Well, when he's gone, I'll be the guru and I'll sit on the chair. That's the way people think in the material world.
Right.
Small detail. Christian consciousness isn't in the material world.
Yes.
So that distinction, that whole thing, that obsession, the fact that it is an obsession means that they are thinking along embodied material lines, not along transcendental lines. In other words, even if they're sannyasis, they're not paramahansas.
Yes.
Yeah. We got 1 minute left.
Okay.
Rupa Manjari is the chronometer girl.
Yeah, 1 minute, 10 o'clock.
Love that.
Well, it's like Krishna. He said, time I am the destroyer of all things.
So, Hare Krishna. So anyone who's watching this discussion.
Time I am the destroyer of all, the ender of all meetings.
Haribol. Okay, so thank you to all the devotees for watching online and offline.
And what happened to the Madhajis that had a question?
Oh.
We answered her question. You did, Arnavin.
Yes.
Was it adequately answered?
Yes,
she said,
you did a good job.
She said, thank you, Prabhuji. She said that.
Oh, well, I hope, because that sort of question really calls for interaction. She says, I say, she says, I say, or you say, we say, Rupa Manjari says, to get a sense of texture and context for the meaning of the question. But if she was satisfied, that's good.
Right. All right. So I think we'll end it here.
Thank you, Hari, for asking the question. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you. So anyone who's watching this online on Facebook and YouTube, kindly join us for the next session, which will be on Saturday, then on Sunday. And then you can contact me, Narayan Prabhu, if you have any questions regarding our programming. And if you like to invite Narayan Prabhu, he's also willing to talk on your show, whatever show you might have, and ask him questions. So take this wonderful opportunity to pick his brains and right? Can we pick your brains?
Yeah, there's a country music singer called Slim Pickens. So you can pick my Slim Pickin' brain.
Yeah.
Not much to gather there, but you can pick it as much as you like.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Narayan Prabhu and
Hare Krishna.
and Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Rise to